Hello, everybody. Welcome to Everything LCS Season 4, Episode 1. Can you believe it's Season 4? I want to pull my camera down a little bit here because I don't like the way it looks. So, I want to do that.
Yep.
Magi,
Look at the stream.
how the hell are you tonight?
Oh man, let me say I'm a little tired. Had a kind of long work day today, but I'm super glad to be back for season 4 of Everything LCS. I was like, all right, guys, we're gonna do this. We've been trying to do this for like a while, but all things have been crazy. But glad we're back. Can't believe we actually made it to season 4. The
We're
episodes
here.
we did do for season 3 were fantastic and had a great time. They kept getting deleted though, but
I was looking today because I did a lot of work today because, I just get random bursts of, motivation to do things. So we're on, small announcement, we're on Apple Podcasts now, officially released on Apple Podcasts for the first time, and our whole catalog has been uploaded onto there. So if you want to look at old episodes, you can. And anything new will auto post there. So I was doing a bunch of work today, and I was looking, and I was like, man, this can't be right because we haven't posted an episode since July. I was looking at Google and I was like, oh man, well, the Google podcast must just not have caught some of the episodes. And I was like, oh no, we really did just do like the end of summer season and then didn't have any playoff or worlds episodes. For those who
to be
don't
fair,
know,
we tried. We did try.
try.
Then each time there was like an audio issue or like something didn't download.
We did
or
one
something
live
like that.
episode during that era.
And that didn't save either.
And it didn't save. But
it was a good episode.
It was a good episode. The people who saw it live had a great time. We both attended Worlds, which was awesome. Worlds was fucking great.
Yeah, Worlds was awesome. It was great to see. Sadly, EG didn't get the win the one day I was there, but it's okay. I saw Faker live. It was great.
I saw Faker live.
It was fantastic. Great Worlds, actually.
I got to see Showmaker live on stage, which was pretty fucking great. I love Showmaker so fucking much.
The Kia shell.
Prove that we were at Worlds. We have chat now. I'm gonna try and be a little bit more interactive with chat. In addition to our new positive direction in content this year, we're gonna try. Okay, we're gonna conceded effort.
We're gonna try.
Did you see the TikTok I posted today of me getting honor level 5 and telling my chat to go fuck themselves? That was not toxic.
No, I didn't. But I also got honor level 5, and every game I've played so far, I've been like, it's too easy. It's too easy. So, oh man.
Proof we were at Worlds. I actually bought this jersey at the CLG meet and greet at
Oh, I actually have the wait. I have proof right here. Wait, the pants are inside out, but they're the pants.
Oh yeah.
Got the World's 2022 joggers.
You want to see some random merch I got from a street vendor?
It's not random merch. It has 2022 on it.
I bought this from a street vendor and they didn't make it out of groups.
Not buying Magi. Oh, you know what? We didn't take a picture together. I was like, me and Vega met for the first time.
Yeah.
And then we didn't take a picture together.
I bought this TES flag and I think I cursed them. It was this guy outside was selling them for $10 a piece, so I bought it.
Oh man, I should have got that. I'm actually an LPL fan. Whoops, something.
I know. I was like, wow. Well, I was so disappointed. My only complaint from Worlds, really, because it was a great Worlds actually, is there wasn't enough merch stuff. I really wanted to spend money. I was like, dude, I'm gonna buy a Gen G jersey. I'm gonna buy all the. I did get a Gen G like hair clip. Somebody in the crowd was in front of us, and there's a bunch of Gen G fans, and they turned around and we were like, "We love your like clip in things. They're so cool." And they were like, "You want them?" And we were like, "Yeah, we want them."
Oh man, okay.
But the crowd was great, even though NA sucked. It was awesome.
Yeah, but it's a new season.
Yes.
Just like a new season of Everything LCS. All of if anyone saw today, they have the season kickoff now. There's no all stars. They're just like, you know what?
Yep.
League wide, no, riot wide season kickoff. Sounds really cool. They didn't really post too much about it yet, but they said January 10th to the 11th. Two days. You're gonna have a bunch of events going on to kick off the season for everyone across the region. So I'm really excited for that. Really excited to see what they're doing because the last new thing they did was lock in, and lock in has been also been really fun. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah. Jackie Fielding posted some stuff that we're gonna hear some LCS stuff in the coming weeks because I know they've been quiet. There's a ton of rumors. One of the big ones, LCS moving to Thursday, Friday. So we don't know yet. I mean, I think it's pretty widely accepted now that is going to happen.
Yeah.
People seem to think. Some of that was doom and gloom. Thankfully, really great interview with Travis Gafford and the head of esports for Riot. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like a 45-minute interview on just like Riot esports. He said their total focus for 2023 was LCS and bringing it up because the other regions were kind of in their own and had, kind of created their own broadcasting stuff that makes sense for them, and they wanted to focus on North America exclusively. And at first I was a little hesitant about like the Thursday Friday thing because I was like, man, it just feels like we're getting pushed to like, weekdays, and they're making room for Valorant and all this stuff. But the more I think about it, I think the more I like it. Because realistically, I mean, we're super fans. We make time for LCS on the weekends. But
We have a podcast for
yeah, we
LCS on the
make time to
weekday.
watch LCS. But realistically, a lot of us, even myself, a lot of times will watch the VODs on like Monday or Tuesday because I'm like, oh well, dude, Saturday and Sunday are my days to like see my family, do stuff, go out, stuff like that. So I do a lot of that. And if it were on Thursday and Friday night, like when I watch football or something, I would be like, cool, I can get off work on Thursday, order some wings, and have a beer on Thursday night and watch
Yeah.
LCS. And then I could do a pod on the weekend when everybody's home. Or
Do a
not.
nice little wrap up. I mean,
Exactly.
we'll see.
I feel like I
But
like
actually,
it.
I was actually concerned because I heard it was gonna be Wednesday, Thursday, and I was like, what the heck? Why are they gonna put it on Wednesday? But
Wednesday,
no,
I
I
do
didn't
not
know
know.
that. I didn't know that they were doing Thursday, Friday. So yeah, super glad about that. Also, as you said, weekends usually you're doing stuff with the fam or something like that. Usually, I legit show up to places late because I'm so busy watching LCS, or I decide to not even go out because I'm watching LCS. So this is actually works out pretty well.
I think so too. And I like the idea of like it not competing with other esports. If I were like a Valorant fan and an LCS fan, and I was like, cool, I can watch LCS on Thursday, Friday, I can watch Valorant on Saturday, Sunday. I don't have to like pick between the two. That way, there's a little bit less count. We will lose some European viewership because it'll be later on Thursday and Friday, but it already started at 4 o'clock on Saturday. So it's already going to be, so the Sunday stream was already getting killed. I mean, if it starts on 4 o'clock on Thursday and Friday or 5 o'clock, I think it'll be fine. And
Yeah,
North America, and I've talked to a lot of people about this, and I guess we'll just go into a broad LCS topic for 2023 before we get into like, detailed stuff on next year. But
yeah,
I feel like it's finally moving from like a league where, oh, let's get this one-off sponsorship, things like that, to let's start growing like our brand as the LCS so that sponsors want to sponsor the LCS and not so much teams, so that teams can gain money off the league, not so much having to make it themselves, which should be the goal, right? Is like LCS,
yeah.
that's how NBA and stuff works, NFL. The NBA makes a ton of sponsorship money, and then all that money gets given out to teams. As opposed to like, well, Cloud9's got a great sponsorship, but Immortals, well, they have Progressive. I don't know how that works, but
Hey, Immortals, honestly, the one of the few teams that provided content throughout the year, even though it wasn't the best. It did like
yes,
interviews with other people, like interviews between like Revenge, just going like, going to the week, blah blah blah. We're doing this. It's
I
cool.
do
They
like
they
it.
were one of the few teams that did try. So it's nice to see, as you said, LCS like bring up their own brand but it. What I'm realizing though, it was cool last season when LCS, they had other teams send in their like little short content vids to show on broadcast. That was great and all, and but that's still the only time. Everything's still only pushed through LCS. Like right now in the
Yeah.
quiet time, the lull time, everyone's like fiending for anything,
Yeah.
and
I'm
and
frustrated
the
a little
teams are
bit with.
giving nothing.
I will say props to Team Liquid, who's been posting like the daily Korea vlogs, the
Yeah,
Korean
TL,
word of the
CLG.
day. Those teams are doing great. And one of the interview Travis had with the head of esports, he was talking about, there's no buy-in for the Valorant League. They don't have to pay the upfront, like, what was it, 25 million they had to pay to get into LCS, or I don't remember, 15 million. So
That
part
was
of the
10.
yeah, it was five, and then
Yeah, it was
five
10
five
million.
up front and five over the next 5 years, I think, or something like that, right? It's
Yes.
valued now at like 25 million or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So because they bought in, it's hard for Riot to impose like rules on them, because like technically they own the slot, right? Whereas the Valorant League doesn't have a buy-in, so they were able to tell teams like, we require you to make a certain amount of content and advertisement for yourself as a partner, or we'll evaluate at the end of the year if we want you to stay on as a partner. Whereas like they were talking about, we wish we had done this with League, because now that they paid 10 million for the slot. I mean, if they don't want to make content, that's their 10 million to throw away.
Yeah.
But I hope that the push and seeing, like, hey, TL is a profitable company because it makes a ton of content and people are hyped around their team. And CLG has had this real boom and resurgence because they make good content and they're actually invested in it. Hopefully other teams will take notice. It just feels crazy to own a slot and then be like, we're not going to advertise this in any way.
Yeah, it's like there's nothing that we really see. The only actual, as a real thing, you saw TL doing their Honda commercials with Whippo, which was hilarious. It's like,
They
whoa,
are
Whippo,
good
you can
commercials.
fix the car? No, I can't drive. It's like, ho ho. So it's cool to see. Hopefully, we see a lot of cool stuff coming into the season. I know we're still like a month or two away, pretty much.
Yeah,
I guess.
which is crazy, but it'll be here before you know it. I mean, like January it's coming up, and we the format changes. We know the days are changing. We don't really know format changes. The LCS commissioner said they'll have news for us in the next couple weeks, but they wanted to finalize things for hammering anything out. But hopefully, with the news of like they're investing in LCS for 2023, we're getting a lot of stuff that we want. Best of twos, fingers crossed. But I wouldn't hold my breath on it. At least not for spring, because I normally things like that do not come in spring. Usually that's like a summer thing where we get the cool new formats. But hopefully, and I haven't heard news. I don't know if you have on a lock-in tournament.
Nothing about that yet. As I said, the only thing floating around is the season kickoff, and they were going like, "What would you do if we had the opening game for the 2 days be Zoomers versus Boomers or Superstars versus Rising Stars?" I think Jackie Felling made a tweet about that, did a little poll. So I mean,
Dude, Rising
we
Stars versus
there's a lot.
Stars is like would be so good. I would love to see that game.
All the rookies come in, and it's just like Bjerg, DL,
Impact.
someday.
God, you have so many
Or
good
someday or
boomers.
impact. Yeah, our boomers are great. All right, some of our zoomers, they're
What's the
rising up.
Zoomer team? It's like
Let's see, Boom. I guess Poom would be a zoomer
yeah.
because he's one of the new ones. Let's see.
Um, you'd
This is a
have
great time to talk about rosters, actually.
yeah. Okay, I'm looking at roster. I'm thinking like top lane. Last year I would have said Philip, but now I'm like,
Philip's gone. I was
I know
actually pretty surprised. A lot of teams did clean house this year or do a nice little revamp all together.
these rosters
So
for this year. Okay. I know. I feel like I say this every single year. This is the most excited I've been for LCS rosters in a long time. Where I'm like down the list, like, dude, every one of these teams, I'm like, this is hype. Oh
I
my
mean, yeah, last
gosh. We got Michaela
what?
rated. Oh my
Oh my god. Thank
gosh.
you, Michaela. Oh my god.
Michaela.
That's huge. Um, dang, I forgot. Oh yeah, last season we were really excited because we had a bunch of rookies coming in. We had Jojo Pune, Danny, CLG's like all new team pretty much, and now this year we're more excited because all the teams seem pretty balanced all together. Not balanced, but each one kind of gives you a little. It kind of gets you a little excited. We have Dignitas with Santorin and Jensen and Armut, but like
Yeah,
what happened during? I guess NA doing terrible at Worlds in NA was a good thing, guys. All right, that's what we took away from this year.
there's no. I will say. So we know that roster. We know based on what people said that rosters kind of like salaries kind of cratered in LCS back down to like a manageable state as opposed to where it was before, which I think has a lot to do with like so many. Because I mean, you look at Dig. I mean, last year if you'd have told me like, dude, they got Santorin, they got Jensen, they got Armid, I'd have been like, with what? Did someone buy them? Like, and
With mouse pads,
FlyQuest, I was like, they signed who?
well, FlyQuest got new management.
Exactly,
Also,
but
got bought by Florida.
you you wouldn't have thought that those rosters would have happened. But I think that this is good for the. It's almost like a false salary cap of saying like, hey, all the rosters are going to come down. We're scaling everything back, and now all these teams that were like middling were like, okay, now we can afford to go get Jensen Santorum, which is wild because if you watch the C9 interview where they talk about their roster, Jack says that they couldn't come to terms with Jensen on price. They couldn't like find a middle ground on like what he wanted, which is like, okay, so you're telling me Dig paid him what he wanted? But let's
I don't think so. I think at that point it's like well, Jensen was just trying to negotiate. He's like, hey, I came in, boom, saved your season. You guys got a title, isn't that great? And then he got taken out, and Dig was there. Maybe they didn't pay what he wanted, but at that point, Jensen, when he was coming back from his time at C9, he was like, I realized I really want to play. So maybe at that point, he was just like, hey, I really want to play. Don't really care. Dig's throwing me okay money, so let's go do this. Let's go for it.
yeah. Let's get into it though. Let's just get into rosters. The list I have is in alphabetical order, so let's just hit it alphabetically. Let's start with pretty poggy roster, pretty exciting. 100 Thieves, rumored because not everything's been confirmed. It's all but confirmed because we've seen them in Korea together, but.
Yeah. The legal jargon, they can't announce it.
They're not technically confirmed yet. So top lane, Tenacity, jungle closer, mid lane, Bjergsen, AD carry, double lift, and support Busio. What do you think? What's your first reaction to that roster?
My first reaction is thank freaking God that Tenacity is out of Academy jail. And it's really funny though because over the off season, like it was either Tenacity was going to EG or staying on 100 Thieves, but people heard EG and everyone was really hyped about it. Like, oh man, EG got Tenacity, but I just feel like all of a sudden 100 Thieves saw everyone really excited for Tenacity starting for EG that they were just like, hey, wait a minute, we're gonna keep him. So I'm really excited for Tenacity and Busio. Really, Busio has been talked about highly for the past since actually no, this whole year he's been talked about really highly. And I know that DL actually likes him as a player. He actually sees, which is funny because DL's like, can't do anything unless you have an import support.
Yeah.
Import supports are the best. But here he is. Him and Busio have played together, not on like a team, but like stream, Champions Queue, and he's spoken highly of him each time. So I'm excited to see this. It's just weird that Unforgiven is in Academy, but that's just like lighting a fire under DL's butt. Hopefully.
I like it. I did a video for LCS Roundup talking about motivation in LCS, and I thought Unforgiven being under double lift is one of the best things in LCS because you have that push from an academy player like double lift, slumps. It's a great insurance plan for 100 Thieves. Be like, well, we have Unforgiven right here who's pretty good. We can bring in. I see mirrors to double lift Biofrost when he first came into the league to double lift Busio.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Bring up an academy support, mold him to be exactly the way you want him to be in lane. So he's gonna play the way you want. And I like this team on paper. And I like it a lot because it's a team where Bjergsen doesn't have to be the carry, which historically is the best way Bjergsen plays. He's really good, he's really consistent, but you need other threats. Closer's a great threat. We saw last year, played through Closer. Tenacity's insane. Double lift obviously is going to take a ton of resources. I don't hate this roster, but I don't think it's a number one roster. But you never count out Bjergsen and Double Lift. I said that when they were on TSM for their farewell tour, and then they won a title. So
They won. We were flaming them pretty hard that season,
yeah,
actually.
well, they even look at, but I think also for 100 Thieves it makes sense. They had a roster that was really good for 3 splits in a row, but it never really got traction as far as like fans loving the roster. And Double Lift is going to do that. Like
Yeah.
Double Lift is brash and loud, and he's got a ton of fans. He makes his own content, so I know 100 Thieves has struggled with League of Legends content recently. We don't have to worry about that. Double Lift has his own editor and all that stuff that he forces out a ton of content with, and he's going to have a following that'll get people interested in 100 Thieves. It's a good match, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Top tier org, top tier player, perfect. Even if they don't do well, people are still going to watch all your games because it's Double Lift Bjergsen.
One thing I'm really excited for is the deuce. What should it? The double bussio, the double bussy
The
bottom lane
double
to whip
bussy
out
bottom lane?
to whip out Senna Yasuo, because Busio is an ex mid laner. So, and I know he's done that. So I'm really hoping we see
Double
Senna Yasuo
bussy
bot.
bottom lane?
I'm really hoping we see that
Um,
bot lane do that, because it would be really great. That's
Double
all I'm
bussy
hoping for.
bottom lane. I actually love that. Okay, so next team, Cloud9. Pretty much the exact same team from last year, except Diplex is in for Jensen. So that's Fudge, Blabber, Diplex, Berserker, and Sven. I was super surprised to see Sven still on this team. Not because I didn't think like Sven deserved to be on the team. I just thought that coming out of Worlds, they were with the rumors about Ayla. I was like, there's no way Cloud9 doesn't go get Ayla or Core, whichever one's available, right?
Yeah.
But apparently Berserker was like, no, I want to play with Sven. I want to have Sven as my support, which Berserker was great last year. So I don't know as much about Diplex. I know he played in the ERLs and things, but what do you think about this Cloud9 roster?
The Cloud9 roster, well, in terms of the bot lane, it would be cool to have Sven do another year, because he was really good on the Enchanters, and then we came around to, Worlds, and then it was like, hey, we're going to put you on, we need engages, and then it just didn't really work out as well, so it'll be nice to give him another year, that'll be nice. But I do hear Diplex is a freak. This guy, like, his games in ERLs, he'd be going, he was called like EU Doimby, just because of all the crazy things he'd be playing, like Hogma mid, cast, not crazy, but like things that people aren't regularly playing. And people also said they thought he was better than Tukui, who got the MVP when they were both in ERLs.
Yeah.
And this may be like the pop off, another psychopath with Berserker. Oh no, not Berserker. Another psychopath with Blabber. We'll see how that works out. I don't know. I don't know how that'll work out really well, but hopefully these two could find a nice mesh. Hoping. My only problem with Fudge, like the whole time, is just the team fighting, and we saw that a lot at Worlds. So hopefully, I'm like, they have Berserker and Sven. Their bot lane is solid. They'll be good. Top 3, maybe top 4. They'll probably take some time to mess. Even though they're like all 4 players, there's things that you got to work on with a whole new mid laner.
Yeah. I see this team. It's tough because I think about how Cloud9 was in playoffs. And I'm like, if it's that Cloud9 and, Diplex can play up to the level of like how Jensen was, very good team. But that same team was also a team that we were like, man, are these guys going to make playoffs? Last year with 4 people. And so I think it depends a lot on how Fudge comes back from Worlds, because for lack of better terms, he got kind of spanked at Worlds by other top laners. I mean, which is fair. I mean, he's in a tough group against a lot of really good top laners. You're not going to have the same competition in LCS. But I think that was good. I think Berserker had a good Worlds. I think Berserker is the bright spot for Cloud9, like the real shining star of this team that you can say like, okay, cool, we have Blabber and Berserker as our stars. If Diplex is good, and historically Cloud9 has done a really good job of finding people who slot in and play well. In Jack's terms, they have good systems. So people come in, C9 systems. I don't expect them to drop. I mean, I expect them to be a playoff team and compete for a title. I do think.
Remember, Oh wait, yeah, go on, go on.
I was gonna say, like, it's kind of weird. Like, I do think top lane has gotten slightly better in LCS, but also maybe not, because it's like, well, I don't expect, like, I still expect Fudge to be in the upper tier of top laners in LCS. Like, you know, he's not going against Zeus. You know, we saw him against that
Going
at Worlds.
against Summit though.
Summit's very good, and that's where I want. Summit, Impact, and Someday are a trio that I think right now on paper would be the top 3 top laners in LCS. And people are going to shit on Armut, but he's going to be a middle road top laner in LCS. Like, he's not terrible.
But and also he's a really good team fighter too. So
Yeah. Which
so
is
we'll see all that.
Let's talk our next team. CLG, 0 roster changes, running it back. Dokla contracts Palafox, Luger, Poom. I'm hyped. Luger got to Masters in Korea with a 90% win rate.
He's Grandmasters now.
A GM, I mean, he got to GM. He just lost I've been following the CLG stuff so closely. If you guys don't know, I'm a CLG super fan. So, I'm hyped about them running the roster back. I think the hard part for me is, like, a lot of the rosters that I think they competed with last year, like, on par. Now, I think it'll be harder. Like, FlyQuest will be a little bit harder to compete with. You know what I mean? Dignitas is going to be a good team. I actually think Dig and CLG are similar tier. Spoiler for my power rankings. I think that's similar tier teams. Biggest thing for me for this roster is which contracts is going to be there in spring. Because I think CLG's bot lane's good. I think Dokla had shining spots last year. Palafox needs to take a leap this year. This is the year of, like, you're in the same roster. You've been given the keys to stay here for another year. They have to make a jump. And
he showed what he could do last year too.
Yeah, so. I mean, like, he shows bright spots, but he needs to consistently, like, you know, when he spanks Bjergsen in lane, it's like, okay, well, you need to do this more often. You need to take the next step. I think that
bend him over more.
They're going to be a weird spot. I think this team lives and dies by how Contract plays. If Contracts is in form, I mean, this team took CLG or took C9 and TL to 5 games in playoffs. They're not a bad team, but they do need to take leaps in the next year to be like a star team.
Yeah.
Thoughts on it?
My thoughts on it is that, you know, there's things that we saw in playoffs that they all need to improve on. Dokla needs to be able to beat Ornn in lane.
Yes.
That was one problem that I saw. And you know, contracts. That's really, and I guess actually no, their bot lane needs to have more of a presence, in my opinion. I felt like in spring their bot lane was actually, like, better because I don't know. I felt Luger and Poom were kind of like doing more stuff, and then Summer hit, and then they're kind of sleeper, still good.
They opted into so much Seraphine, their AD carry, and other stuff in summer that it felt like they took the keys away from Luger as far as, like, okay, you're not going to be a primary carry, which felt weird. Yeah, because in spring it was like Luger wins or we don't win.
Yeah, and sure, I mean, that's cool, but it's, man, my only thing is I hope NA teams, like, just look at how Worlds went and was like, guys, you can all play carries if you just execute it well, if you, like, could work together properly. And hopefully that's what we could see. Hopefully that's something they learned just watching it, and hopefully that's something we see from CLG, because, you know, we saw them be good. We saw them, as you said, take these top teams to 5 games, and that's all we can really hope for. All we can hope for is that they improve. Like Dokla, his laning, good, that we worked on. Not gonna, but how much they improve. That's all that matters. We know they're part of their ceiling. We gotta push through to stay in that ceiling. And then
consistency
go above that.
is their thing. They've shown they can play very well at times. It's just the C9 series is exactly how to encapsulate CLG. On some games, you were like, or the TL series is better, actually, because they go up 2-0, and you're like, CLG is insane. They're going to go to Worlds. And then the next 3 games, you're like, what is happening? What are they doing? And that's just CLG in a nutshell. It's like, they have the ability to take games off top teams, but they're not consistent enough to do it. And yeah, I hope they make the leap this year. I was hoping to see maybe Santorn or somebody else brought in on, or at least an academy jungler brought in to kind of like push contracts. we'll see what happens. If they're in Korea boot camping right now, so we'll see
They
what
all
comes
got
out.
to Masters,
Yep.
so we'll see.
Yep. Next up, Dig, which is Armut, Santorin, Jensen, Spawn, and Ignar. Spawn, the only remaining person from last year, or the only announced or confirmed one. Sorry. I like this roster for Dig. It's a good sign for Dig that they're investing. And this is a competitive roster. I mean, anytime you have Santorin, Jensen on your roster, that's a team that's going to compete and has a chance to go deep in the playoffs. I think Armut is like quietly a really good signing for this team.
Yeah.
Because it allows Jensen to be a primary carry. It gives Santorin kind of a safe, consistent lane that he knows is going to be like, okay, it's a good team fighting lane. It's going to be fine. For lack of a better term, it's this team's impact, or like a lesser impact of like, okay, cool. We know you're going to play, off lane. We know you're going to play.
Gnar, Dino Gnar, Astronaut Gnar,
Exactly.
Gentleman Gnar.
Gentleman Gnar, opening up the champion pool, which is great because a lot of tanks right now. Gnar's okay in the so the big thing for me on this roster, what the hell are we going to get from Ignar? Because I feel like Ignar's been very peaks and valleys for a while. When he's good, he's great. And Santorin's a really cerebral jungler, so I think he is somebody who could get a lot out of a player like Ignar. Take you back to FlyQuest when they went to finals back-to-back splits. One of those with Santorin and Ignar. They worked very well together, so excited to see that. And I think Spawn's fine. He's a fine AD carry on this team.
I think Spawn is going to be underrated and be probably. I'm going to say Spawn may get All Pro coming into when the year comes. That's how I'm feeling. Seeing this guy play just like hard carry in Academy. I know it's Academy, but I don't know. I'm really high on him. I think Spawn is gonna be a surprise. He's gonna be a big surprise. Because we already know what everyone else can do. But yeah, I really think them keeping Spawn was great. I was hoping Dig was gonna like stick with XU.
I was kind of hoping that too.
That was one of the rumors because he was also pretty good. The Dig Academy roster last year was actually really good. And they made a pretty good run for Proving Grounds. So I'm really looking forward to how Spawn performs and grows. He's a really good, solid laner and a good team fighter. So hopefully, we'll see something really good about this. And Armut's team fighting, I think, is gonna be one of the key parts of this roster because that's one thing. In LEC, it wasn't like he was the best laner or anything. He wasn't like always smashing lane and stuff. But when it came to team fights, his Wukong, he plays Wukong. It's one of his champs. His Wukong flanks, his Aatrox flanks, those things are what won mad games. That's what got them in like first place, even though they didn't win a single best of 5. But there's a lot of the new pieces are good ones. So
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to them. Actually, I may be on the Dig train again. Gonna change my Reddit little symbols from Golden Guardians and CLG to CLG and Dig probably.
Always on the Dig train.
So we'll see.
Let's be
Always
honest
on the
here
Dig
though.
train.
We're really an Immortals podcast. We're not doing Immortals next, but we really are an Immortals podcast. If you took time spent talking about teams, Immortals is definitely the highest on the list of teams that we talk about. For good or bad. But next, EG. I love this roster. Someday inspired JoJo, FBI, and Vulcan. This is like if Riot still did All-Star games and you had like an All-Star roster where NA sent a team. This is potentially one of those rosters. I think on paper, if you had to pick like just based on known quantity, a number one EG's rosters. Probably the best top laner in LCS, the MVP jungler. JoJo's probably the best young talent. FBI is definitely a top 380 carry. Vulcan's definitely a top 3 support. It's hard to say a lot. I mean, some days like he's
like him and things to say.
Him and Impact were like kind of interchangeable. I think obviously Danny not coming back sucks. I think all of us would love to see that, but we want Danny to. I'm not going to comment on all the drama that came out because I think it ended up being a nothing burger anyways. but FBI is great. And now he's out of Abba jail. He's moved on to a team.
As a mid laner now.
Him and Someday are both like, yo, let's get out of these losers too. No, I'm sorry. I'm not being toxic this year. I'm being positive. We're being positive this year.
You already lost.
We're being positive. No, I think it's great. I love this roster. I love this roster construction. I mean, every player can play. But much like TL last year, I will not be surprised if this team struggles at figuring out who the carry is. Someday can play every style, and he's very good. But it's, he's primarily been the guy on 100 Thieves because of other people not being able to. So I would expect maybe a little bit of adjustment period. But I think if you're not picking this team as your favorite out of the gate, I don't know. They should be. They should be your favorite out of the gate.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to not do that. I mean, even when they took, who they beat? It took 100 Thieves of 5 games with Cowrie after 2 weeks.
Exactly.
3 weeks of playing,
Yeah.
and so they're gonna have FBI, solid ADC, doesn't have Huhi anymore, who I felt we saw enough of with 100 Thieves.
We saw enough of.
No, it's not anything bad. It's just we saw how far these two could go. I promise.
No, I know what you mean. It just sounded really fun. What's the nicest way I could say I'm tired of this? We've seen enough.
We've seen enough.
I am whelmed.
I mean, it was just after Set stopped being so good support, it wasn't sorry. I'm sorry, guys.
Positive 2023.
Positivity. Okay, FBI is really good, and him and Vulcan will be contending for top 3 bot lane. It'll be really fun to see. Vulcan's always good. He's always great. He's been good since the CG days when Cody's son went deathless in 7 games in a row to go into playoffs. Yeah, I remember those days. Miss Cody's son.
Miss you, Cody's son.
Miss you, Cody's son. Please come and replace
Spawn,
Neo.
Maybe. I was like Neo or Spawn.
No, don't replace Spawn. But yeah, these guys. I say, and honestly, I think Inspire is gonna do really well with Someday. I just think Someday is it's there's Oda Omne, and then we have Someday and Impact. All right, I feel like they're in the same realm in terms of what they bring to a team.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair.
Pretty stable. It's just Someday and Impact can play carries. Well, Impact could play some more carries, but we know Someday can play carries pretty well.
Someday's a monster.
Yeah, Someday is a monster. So, but with this new meta coming in, we may see tanks for the first 3 weeks of LCS, but who knows? Hopefully not.
That could be good for this team though, because when you're a team trying to find an identity and you're able to be like, hey man, it's not our fault you have to play Ornn and stuff every game. Then it's easy to be like, okay, AD carry gets resources, mid lane gets resources, top lane plays Ornn. And Someday's a good enough player to be like, okay, Someday's Ornn is going to be the best Ornn in LCS. Whereas if you're Summit, maybe you don't want that meta because
we'll be I don't know about this guy. It's just not too sure. But yeah, really looking forward to this. I think they're all going to work well together. I mean, it's inspired in JoJo's second year as a duo, and going Inspired got this rookie NA player. He was like, hey, I guess he's pretty good. He was bad at the start, but let's go. And they just kept going, and they worked really well together, honestly. So, and the early games at Worlds were good. Okay, so
yeah,
so it's fine. It's fine. This team is good. It's really weird that people were like, no, Danny, 5th place.
They'll be a top 3 team. I don't.
Yeah. That's
hard. Actually, I'm not committing to that. But
we gotta get through the rest of the roster before we say who our top 3 is gonna be.
On paper, they should be. They're not. I'll say this: they're not the roster I'm most excited about. I think they'll be good, but there's other rosters that excite me more. Just as
one next.
Yeah, the next one is definitely top 2 excitement. Let's talk about FlyQuest. Impact, Spica, Vikla, Prince, and Ayla. Dude, Vikla. Okay, I know everybody's gonna talk about Spica and all that blah blah blah. Vikla and Prince. Oh my god, dude, Vikla.
Wait. Tell me about Vikla. I don't know anything about
this dude. Last year was the 3rd best mid in LCK, only below Chovy and Showmaker. This dude was contending as good as Chovy and Showmaker. I'm gonna say right now, on this podcast, Vikla is the best mid laner in LCS, and it's not close. Like, he's gonna elevate the level of mid lane in LCS. Vikla is, this is equivalent to Showmaker getting signed by FlyQuest, dude. Like, Vikla is so good, and Prince is a top 380 carry in LCK. Like, Prince is good.
Yeah, that's what I hear. They were like, oh, he choked in playoffs versus who they lose against DRX, but
Yeah.
you know, they're good.
That was the dream run.
You sold me on Vikla. Good job. You sold me on it. You sold me on Vikla.
Dude.
Yeah.
Dude,
keep going.
Ayla with Prince, Ayla, the most hyped Academy support coming out. That Core JJ said last year, he's top 2 support in the league behind me. You know, it's like, and then you get Impact, who's the GOAT NA top laner, and you have unlocked Spica. Spica off TSM on a super roster with a ton of weapons. Dude, this roster is sick. Like, I am.
Can't call it a super team. That's how you curse the team.
Not a super team because we don't. Technically, Vikla and Prince aren't proven yet. They haven't won titles or anything like that. And Ayla came from Academy. So it's not a super team yet, but it's like a ultra team. It's like a mega team. It's
hyper team.
It's a hyper team. It's pretty good.
A hype team.
It's a very hyped team. This team is sick. I just want to see JoJo versus Vikla. Like, that's what I want to see. Vikla's got the same playstyle that like Showmaker has, where you're like, I'm winning lane against Showmaker, and then you look over like 5 minutes later, like, where'd he get a 50 CS lead on me? How did that happen? He's Silas into my Azir. How did he get so much farm? You know me. I'm like the LCK fanboy. So anytime some hype Korean player comes over, I'm like, yes, this guy's gonna be sick. Just wait till we get to TO. But yeah, I love this ride. This is awesome. FlyQuest has a hype roster. FlyQuest has, on paper, in my opinion, a top 2 roster.
Yeah, really excited for Spica. I mean, he'll be able to work with Impact. I don't know. They're gonna be a good team. I don't really have too much to say. Ayla, 2-time Proving Ground champion, guys. They gotta hype this guy up. But yeah, I don't know. FlyQuest are gonna be great. Probably gonna buy another jersey this year. I'm just really looking forward to them, and it's cool to see Spica be unlocked. Like, it's funny watching him on like solo queue and like champs queue and like popping off and all this other stuff, and you're like, huh, he's good.
He's very good.
So yeah, I'm really excited for FlyQuest as well.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be sick. We'll go on. Golden Guardians.
GG.
Licorice, River, Gory, Stixay, and Huhi reuniting with Stixay and Golden Guardians overall. And Gory coming over to be the jungler. They're holding on to River. We knew we extended him last year. Stixay remains the stalwart 80 carry, but he's no longer the most seasoned 80 carry in LCS as Doublelift returns. So Stixay has to hold out for his Doublelift Stixay rivalry as long as possible. The 2 CLG 80
win
carries.
A game.
Yeah. And Licorice stays top lane. This roster is, I think it's fine. I think they looked good. Like, people forget last year, they looked good, and then they made the River trade, and people were hyped. We were hyped. We were like, oh, this is sick. You're going to get a sick jungler. And then they just melted down at the end of the year.
I mean, that's why they got rid of their GM. So
yeah, which now they bring over Gory, which I think Gory's good. I don't know how he's going to stack up this year against mid lane pool that's here. We don't really know because we don't know like how like Diplex and like, you know, Blaze Olive and like, you know, Maple, and I think there's room for Gory to be good in the league. And then obviously Huhi coming back to play with Stixay. We'll see how that goes. I would say I feel bad because we came off FlyQuest and I was like, yeah. And then we got to GG and I'm like, I'm still like, yeah, this roster's okay. It's
just, you know.
Gory's not Vikla. I like him. He's
a player.
We'll see. I think, you know, Inero moves to GM. They have a new coaching staff there completely.
Has that been announced yet? We don't know who. Actually, we don't know a lot of the coaches.
I don't think we know their full coaching staff yet. We only know that Inero has moved to GM. But we'll see. I think it's a big year for Golden Guardians. They need to take steps this year.
Yeah.
They've been a bubble team for a while. They need to
And
take
I mean,
steps.
hopefully we see like I still remember that game where it was legit Stixay holding the line for like I think it was playoffs or something, or one of the last few games to get in the playoffs. It was legit like if Stixay dies, they lose. And that's a really rough situation. Like he legit had to play perfect to win that game.
Yeah.
So hopefully we just see like some maybe Huhi is what they need. Maybe Huhi
Maybe.
shot calling will actually get them to like stay in playoffs kind of like consistently this year. So there's some bright side. Licorice is fine. He'll hopefully I hope he like elevates a little. That's what I'm really looking for. But
Yeah.
yeah, Golden Guardians.
We'll see. It's hard to at this point in the year is when I'm like, I like all the teams. And then, we're like 2 weeks into LCS, like, I hate this roster. Next up, the Everything LCS favorite team, our banner team. Some could say our favorite team, Immortals, which has Revenge, Kinvi, Ablaze Olive, Tactical, and our list here says NA, but I think it's Fleshy, right?
Yeah, it is Fleshy.
Yeah, it's Fleshy who's the support that's been rumored.
He's already hit Masters in Korea, and they just got there, not like last week
I
or
don't know.
this week.
I'm going to say this, and we say this every year. I feel like I've said this for like 5 years in a row. Not being toxic. Here's my non-toxic way of saying this. I think this roster has the most to prove. On paper, they didn't have a good year last year. Revenge looked to take some steps forward, but I think overall as a team they had a bunch of issues. Kinvi had a rough coming out split, but that's okay. I think coming out, playing one split on a rough team, now you get a chance to know what LCS is like, a chance to grow from it, have an off season to get ready. Ablaliv, he was okay last year. I'm excited
Still
to see
making the same mistakes though that we saw throughout, like doing good things and then
I want to see him with a different coaching staff. I want to see what he does with Immortals coaching staff because right now we could be like, oh well, maybe his development wasn't that good. Because to be fair, Golden Guardians didn't get a ton better over time, so maybe coaching staff, new motivations, things like that, maybe better. Tactical, our boy's back. He tried to save TSM in playoffs, couldn't do it. Now he's here to save Immortals. And Fleshy's, I think, the best player on the team.
I mean, that's what I've been saying. He's what in ERLs everyone was saying how good he is as a support. So we'll jeez. I just hope Kenvi has a good year. That's what I'm hoping for.
This
I'm hoping
roster could be
Kenvi...
good. I see a world where Revenge finally becomes that side lane carry they want. Kenvi takes over more of a carry role. Ablala becomes Bjergsen light, and it's like, okay, cool. I want to play control mages and stuff mid and just play for my jungle and like side lanes. Tactical with Fleshy returns to form. Yeah, it could happen.
Yeah, there's upside here. There is upside. So keep your eyes on Immortals, guys, because like we will or I will.
Yes.
But yeah,
we'll talk about Immortals, guys. We're gonna talk about Immortals a lot.
Yeah, don't worry, guys.
We always do. We know you guys tune in here and you're like, get to the Immortals portion. You're looking at the YouTube video like, where's the Immortals section of the show? Everyone's like 5 minutes and then Immortals is like 15 minutes, and it always ends the same way with me saying, we're not talking about Immortals anymore. I'm not talking about Immortals anymore in the show. But yeah, we'll see. Yeah. I think they got a lot to prove with this roster. I want to see growth out of these guys. But yeah, Fleshy looks like a good signing on paper, and I want to see how Blaze Olive changes things.
It would be cool if they have I don't know who their top laner is. Do they keep Concept? No, Concept's on Golden Guardians and Academy. I don't know. Not saying. Actually, no. I'm not gonna say anything. Never mind. Keep going. Let's go. Let's move to Team Liquid.
Get the TL,
Let's go,
baby. TL. This is one of my favorite rosters. I won't say the most because FlyQuest and TL roster is like both Korean super teams or hyper teams.
Calm down.
Summit, Piosik, straight off Worlds. A month later is on TL. You have Harry and Jan, both from TL Academy, and Core for his 5th year on TL, which is fucking nuts, man. When they said that in the announcement video,
the player has been on like a team.
Outside of Bjergsen, it's got to be right.
Yeah,
Outside
has
of
to
Bjergsen's
be.
got to be. Yeah, that's fucking crazy. 5 years. I think maybe if someday had re-signed, it would have been his 5th year also on 100 Thieves.
Oh yeah. Because
Um,
someday came in.
but this is the EG method. Veteran Korean top laner, insane jungler, to academy mid laner and AD carry, and a stalwart veteran support who knows the game and can teach a young AD carry. I love this roster. Marin as the coach. Marin is back, baby. Who else? It's Marin and Rainover. Marin and Rainover as the
Oh
coaches.
yeah.
So
Oh, Rainover with Piosic. I like that.
I love
I
this
like
roster
that a
construction.
lot.
Summit back in the LCS, I'm really happy because I was really upset when he left because I felt really shitty as like, you win MVP, get out.
See ya.
So him being back feels really good because it's like, yeah, cool. Now we can actually run with the narrative of like, some days a former MVP, like, dude, this team has 2 world champions, 3 LCS MVPs between Summit and Core. And I think Harry and Neon are super people who are sleeping on them. They are good. Like, they are really good academy players, and they're in a perfect environment to grow.
Also, oh wait, really good year just for them to come in. We have all these new ADCs. Well, let's see, Prince came in. Double F is back. Like, really good year for both these guys to come in, and then Harry gets to go against Jojo Pune, the old rookie versus the new rookie coming in. Bjergsen and Vikla. Like, I don't know. This is a good time. This is a good time for them to be promoted.
One thing I like about LCS this year that I don't know that I felt like in other years is that I can clearly see the way teams are built based on their rosters. Like, I can clearly see, like, KTL wants to be like a top focused carry summit top team, and then I can go look at a team like 100 Thieves and be like, okay, 80 carry is like that's what they're going to play for, which is really cool because you get to see like almost play style differences between how rosters are constructed, where you're like, yeah, well, maybe, TL versus 100 Thieves is hype because like Canyon and Core like hold off when they're playing for, Doubleth in the bot lane, and Summit take over against Tenacity, and like see these different ways of playing the game, which is really cool roster construction. You have FlyQuest, who's just like, what if we just had like one of the best players? Dude, when FlyQuest EG play, I don't want to circle back to it, but when those two teams play, that's gonna be like sick. But yeah, this TL roster, TL has a great staff, great infrastructure. People talk about last year as being a failure. They got 4th. Your team's in a good place when getting 4th place is considered an utter failure of a year. Like, I mean, some of these other teams are like, yo, we'd love to be 4th.
Like, whoa, we made playoffs as the 8th seed. We're so happy. Like,
we made it. I've been a CLG fan for a while, so we would, I'm happy about last year. We didn't make Worlds. I thought last year was a great year. But I like TL's approach, and also how long they kept Harry Neon in Academy. A full year of full year of development, and they've kept the same coaching staff in Academy, which is great. There wasn't a lot of change. They got to see them grow. They're in the same systems, and their Academy works directly with their LCS team. So it's easy to get like this feedback of like, okay, how are they doing here? Can we scrim with them? Can we do different stuff? I'm excited for that team, and they're making content, which is really great. We actually get to see
and
content from
also
them.
the whole Korean like staff. I don't know. I feel like the one thing that NA has that you hear a lot is like ego, like going over like things. It's like, I don't want to play this, blah blah, scrims and all sorts of stuff. If TL is the best team in the league, and plus with FlyQuest, the scrim culture probably is going to change like hard. If you didn't watch the Dodo video,
It's
uh,
fucking great. It's so good.
yeah, I'm so tired of the bullshit, and I'm like, yes. So
Yes.
and also ego. I don't think ego will be too much of a problem on this roster. You saw when Barrel's thing of like Piosic and the talk. Piosic left. I can't fight with this. I can't play with this bastard. Leaves, smokes a cigarette, comes back, flames him some more, leaves again, comes back, says sorry. And then they work and then they win
There you go.
worlds.
They go in Worlds. Yeah.
They go win worlds. They're all of them are there for the same thing, to perform, and they want to win and get that title.
Yeah.
So I'm just really excited to see this whole thing. Everyone's like, "Oh, TLCK." I'm like, so guys,
I love it.
this could be what we need. Everyone's been complaining for like years about the scrim culture and everything. If our best team is bringing back the triple block, which everyone was saying arguably was like the best time, like LCS was like performing pretty well and all this other stuff, instead of bringing over this crappy EU um double, like what I don't know what that block was, but it was really bad scrim block, you know. So and that's the part no one's talking about this roster. It's like if these guys, I mean, they probably will. Like these guys come in, like be the best and competing. Like the culture in NA is probably going to change a little in terms of performance and playing and everything. So also maybe the weekday will help a bit. I don't know, but
Yep.
yeah, I'm excited for that reason also. We could see like a shift, cut like this year, just in terms of what we see. So it'll be nice,
Yeah.
really nice. But
I'm
now we can move on,
yes.
unless you want to say one more thing.
No, just echo what you said. I think the work ethic thing, if you have a team like that that's working that hard and then is performing, the LCS is a copycat league. It only learns when another team is doing something well and they're like, "Oh, we need to do what they're doing." So, praying that TL does well because of the effect that it would have on these other teams. And rumor is CLG and TL are triple blocking in Korea now. So hopefully that is a ripple effect throughout LCS. The last but potentially least, TSM, we're banned from their subreddit. I don't care.
Oh yeah, we are banned from their subreddit. Oh my god.
Positive view of that.
Yeah.
I do want TSM to do well because they're such a namesake org in LCS that I think it is good for the league when TSM is good. They have a huge fan base. I don't want their fans to, I've been there. TSM fans, look at me. It's CLG. I've seen the bleak future. I've seen the weird signings that don't work. Okay, I've seen it. Okay, I feel for you. I'm looking right at you, TSM fans. We're brothers in suffering now, and it's gonna get better. I promise it's gonna get better. Maybe not with this roster, but at some point it will get better. Solo, Boogie, Maple, Neon, and Chime. I will say this. I want to do. It's a weird offshoot. People have flamed their academy roster. I think it's fine. It just makes every other team's academy team better because they get to play against like good players in academy. So
Yeah, honestly.
yeah, it's like somebody has to be that team. But as far as their LCS roster, Solo is fine, top laner. I do worry because I think the years of Solo being a guy who's going to push you to playoffs are starting to diminish. I think the LCS competition in top lane is better. Like, I would not put Solo over Revenge, which is a little bit of a worry, but we'll see how it functions as a roster. Solo is an incredibly smart player. Been to Worlds. Boogie is the most exciting thing on this roster. That Boogie coming in as a jungler is pretty hype. And obviously partnering him up with Maple is going to be pretty cool. Maple was not bad last year. I feel like a lot of people remember TSM being bad and think about Maple, but Maple was really not the issue with them. He was a middle of the road mid laner most of the year. I think he'll be fine. The Neo Chime lane, I like Chime a lot.
Right?
Yeah, it's just like it's okay. It's not like anything that's going to blow your socks off. But if they take the next step and grow, there's a lot of good potential for this team, right?
Yeah, I definitely have to say.
Yeah, and I think TSM fans, like, they're used to having giant signings, but I think looking back on it, outside of like Sword Art, like you had Bjerg and like Double, but outside of that, you really were picking up people who weren't like insane. And then you were turning them into good players. So you could look at the same thing. If you consider Maple to be like a stalwart mid laner that you can build around, maybe this roster could do the same thing. Solo's like the new Dyrus of your team, like stolid top laner who's going to play weak side and not complain about it. And you're hoping that Neo and Chime can turn into like hyper carries and do well for you, which is possible.
Yeah,
It's possible.
like we saw Chimes for Khan just straight up carry TSM. Oh look, it's Matt.
Hey, Matt.
Oh whoa, hey. Like we saw, like honestly, I'm fine with Chime. With Neo, I'm kind of like not too hot. Honestly, I feel like we've kind of seen like his not a ceiling, but like what he can do. It's always been like, oh, he's doing great, and then like dies randomly, or like a little too aggro, gets caught. Just stuff like that. And that's why one word. I also saw Chime and and Neo go against who was it? Spawn and Diamond in the what was it? In the Fearless draft that
Oh yeah,
Spica was holding,
yeah.
and they got smashed every game. Like Spawn was just winning lane, and I was like, oh my god. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but that like kind of made me like
You're
slightly
like, I
worried.
can't move past this.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
Um,
I cannot. But I'm really high on Chime and his performance in playoffs. He even got play of the game like a couple of times for TSM winning. So I'm hoping I'm hoping they surprise us.
yeah,
That's what I'd like. And their academy team, possible good scrim partners. Who knows?
I think that feels like what the
They
goal is, and
yeah
they'll be that. And I think their academy team will be good for other academy teams to bounce off of. And like, hey, you're playing against some veteran players who are pretty good, and you'll get good scrim practice with that. And internal scrims will be good because one problem is when you have TSM hasn't done well for like the last two splits. It can be hard at times to find scrim partners with like the higher teams. But if you have a good academy team that has veterans on it, it's easier for you to bounce off and get good feedback from your academy team if been playing. So I think that's good.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that wraps
It'll be
up
solid.
our roster rundown. Is there anything you want to hit before we close out the episode? We're just over an hour.
Sure. Well, the as we know, the preseason is here.
It
How are
is.
we? How are we feeling about the things that have happened this recent? We have a bunch of new items that came. We had Heartsteel, Jack Show, Kasanti came out. I haven't been playing too much Summoner's Rift. I know Vega has, so he may have a better feeling on everything. I was playing a bunch of ARAMs, keeping my fingers flexible and ready
ARAM
for the
Clash.
season to start.
ARAM Clash
ARAM
this weekend.
Clash. That'll be great.
I'm so hyped.
But yeah, everyone's saying, "Oh, gonna be a tank meta." I mean, this new patch they buffed a couple things. Like Malphite got a nice buff. Maokai got a good buff. Mundo got adjusted. His ult's a lot better when he's legit like his W and ult is like his kit now. So we'll see. Like, yeah, how are you feeling? Like, after not you probably didn't play too much on this patch yet, but
Right
how are
now,
you feeling?
this patch feels better than obvious. I mean, everybody always overreacts when it starts. It's like, guys, it's preseason. It's gonna be crazy when it first comes out. Everybody's like, Heartsteel's too broken. This is too nuts. Did I just play Heartsteel Bard and an ARAM and get like 19 kills? Yes, but I feel like the biggest problem when it first came out was like non-tanks building tank items. Like you had the veins with Heartsteel and stuff like that. But now that things have been kind of adjusted, it feels like it's settled. I like the jungle changes because I feel like I can play almost anything jungle now, which is cool. And I think a lot of people dislike it. I like all the system changes to make it easier for new players because I have friends who don't play League that before, if I was trying to get them into it, it would be like impossible. But now I can be like,
Yeah.
oh, it'll help you with your runes and tell you what to level up. And if you're in the jungle, it's going to help you path. And all that stuff is good for the game's health. Because if you're good, you're going to do different things anyways. You're going to figure out your own way of playing the game. But I think all that's great. And I think meta-wise, last year was the best meta we've ever had. It was wide open all year. Worlds had so many different picks. And I think it's kind of continued. I still feel like I'm seeing a lot of different stuff played.
Yeah, a lot of variety.
Yeah, I feel like there's not anything where I'm like, I mean, the beginning of preseason, you couldn't play Ivern, but that was going to happen with jungle changes till they figured out how to balance him with the new jungle. That always happens when they change jungle. But I don't feel like there's anything where I'm like, oh man, can't play that. It's awful. Which is good. That's a good feeling. I feel like right now in the game, it's good. And I can jungle because it tells me where to go. It's nice.
Yeah, it's all really nice. I'm probably gonna start playing some Summoner's Rift again because Diana got a new skin.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Retired Diana one trick, so gonna whip her out
Oh,
since I played mid last season. Well,
8 minutes ago, Double Lift posted, returning to competitive play on 100 Thieves, heist time, and it's Double Lift in 100 Thieves jersey.
Oh yeah, let's go.
Live
Live
right here, double if
reaction right here.
confirmed. Woo,
Double
we
if
didn't
confirms
know. Oh,
on
they made a
100
video.
Thieves. Oh snap, they did.
They made a
100 Thieves content,
video.
guys. They're finally
Content.
doing it. They're
Oh,
doing what
Yasu
everyone
was in
asked
it.
for. Never mind.
Oh,
Uh, oh man, but yeah, excited for the season. Really cool. Hoping teams don't just like default to tanks, but they probably will because that's how the season's gonna start. But we'll start seeing carries. Probably see a lot of Kasanti. But yeah, I also like this patch. Even though I've just been playing ARAMs, I've been feeling great just playing games. And when I have played on Summer's Rift, I've always won. So that's telling. If I'm always winning, it's going fantastic. So yeah, man, real excited.
I'm hyped. Yeah, guys, we're gonna have another episode next week. Same day, Thursday. It'll be the same thing, and then we're gonna be
Yep.
on break for Christmas. Unsure about New Year's yet. We'll let you guys know. We might be able to do them because New Year's is on the weekend.
Yeah.
I'll be traveling for Christmas, the week of Christmas, so I will be not. So we'll have a break, but that should be fine. Normally, nothing's gonna break over Christmas break, anyways. But we're gonna be on time and schedule with you guys. Keep on Twitter. If you don't hear from us during the off season, we're still doing Thursdays. I imagine we'll move it closer to the beginning of the week once the season starts because now games are gonna be on Thursday.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll let you guys know. But next week, same time. Magi, is there anything you want to say before we hop off?
No, guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming and listening to us. For those who decide to listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, thank you for listening as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode and play a bunch League, and hopefully you don't go against my Diana and Summoner's Rift.
Hey guys, we're on Apple Podcasts now, so go listen to it there if you're on there. Thanks everybody in chat for talking. Thank you again for the raid, Michaela. Thank you so much. For the first time in our history too, we're actually going to raid off of the podcast. We never do this. But if you guys could, I'll cut this out of the actual podcast on Spotify. But give a follow, give a sub to our dear friend Amanda Rose. She's streaming. She actually has on Sundays she's doing a fundraiser stream, which is really cool. She got a bunch of cool incentives. Copy the raid message in chat. I love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Season 4 of Everything LCS is back. We adore you guys. Have a good night, everybody.
See you guys.